My name is Billie Lurk. The boss pulled me up from the Dunwall slums. It was always understood. I'd see my moment and take your place. The world is big, bigger than I knew. There are lots of places where an old man like you could disappear.
Old man's got me jumping right back into this occult shit. Killers never change.
Billie Lurk began as a secondary character in the Knife of Dunwall DLC, and rose to become one of the most pivotal figures in the history of the Isles, even if almost no one knows it. A street kid struggling to survive, who became a ruthless assassin, a ship captain, and depending on how you play the games, either the outsider's savior or executioner. Here is an overview of this fascinating character. Billie was born on the 2nd of Hearths in 1813, making her 24 during the events of Dishonored 1 and 39 during Dishonored 2. She never knew her father. Her mother was highly abusive, and both of them were drunkards. One of her parents was an islander from off the Pandician coast, and according to the Queen of Morley, their names were Asher and Francis. This is all that's known about them. Lurk is not her real surname, only a nickname stemming from her dour nature. When her mother literally drank herself blind, Billie left the shack she'd lived in to run the streets of Dunwall with a pack of friends. Survival left only a few options: prostitution, picking through drained mud for trinkets, or thievery. You can probably guess which path Billie took. Her gang of kids wasn't the biggest, but maybe the smartest and meanest when they had to be. They hoped to gain the attention of one of the bigger gangs and get taken on. It was a hard life, and Billie came close to suicide more than once. All that saved her was her companion Deirdre, who looks suspiciously like Cecilia. At some point, Deirdre stole and gave to Billie a talisman made of bone and a desiccated rat corpse that lets the user hear the whispers and thoughts of nearby rats. In or around 1829, Deirdre was killed by Rodanis Abel, son of the Duke of Serkonos, when she didn't make way for his coach quickly enough. At his brother Luca's urging, he cracked a cane over her head, leaving her lying dead in the muck. Enraged, Billie tore a wooden gazelle ornament from the carriage and drove its horn into Rodanis' eye. After that brazen attack, Billie became a pariah among Dunwall's street denizens, cursed as bad luck, while the City Watch and Grand Guard soldiers searched for her. But Billie memorized the faces of those responsible, and eventually tracked them down. As she was about to exact revenge, she tripped and fell. They didn't even notice her. As it turned out, someone else was also hunting her targets. She watched as Daud himself emerged from the shadows and dispatched 3 City Watch guards without making a sound. Intrigued, Billie followed Daud back to his hideout. Daud knew she was there and let her catch up to him before confronting her. Her apparent lack of fear in the face of the Knife of Dunwall impressed him, and he took her on as an apprentice. Billie gave up her dream of being a ship captain, and thereafter wanted to be nothing but a professional assassin. By the time of the Knife of Dunwall, Billie has become Daud's second in command, performing mission reconnaissance and providing clues and supplies. She also comments on Daud's actions, depending on the chaos level. She assisted in the murder of Jessamine Caldwin, but her exact role is not known since she isn't seen during the event. At one point, she nearly killed Slackjaw, leader of the Bottle Street gang, while he was getting a shave. What Daud doesn't know was that Billie conspired with the witch Delilah to betray him and take over leadership of the Whaler gang. Billie watches Daud's actions carefully, calculating when and where she can step forward and replace him. In low chaos, Billie confesses her betrayal and throws herself on Daud's mercy, whereas in high chaos she challenges him to a duel. The canonical ending is her exile from the gang, and she disappears from Dunwall to find a quieter life. Daud doesn't take this personally, knowing she had no other choice due to the life they lived. As Daud's lieutenant, Billie inherits his blink ability through arcane bond, as well as his resistance to poisons, bend time, and sleep darts. In addition, her association with Delilah gives her, in the final fight with Daud, versions of Windblast and Thorns. She's the only one of the Whalers to wear a red jacket like Daud's, where the others all wear grey or dark blue. It's possible this caused some envy, as other members, such as Katrina and Gallia Fleet, expressly disliked her, though she seemed to get along well with others, such as Thomas and Fennec. After the events of the Knife of Dunwall, Billie leaves the city to explore the Isles. At some point soon after, she sends Daud a letter and a book describing various ports of call around the Empire. Eventually, she takes on the name Megan Foster and at last becomes the captain of a ship. An old, rickety ship, barely held together with rust and copper wire, but a ship nonetheless, which she names the Dreadful Whale, an anagram for Farewell Daud. The events of Dishonored 2 in 1852 allow for changes to the timeline, and in the original history, Billie, in the guise of Megan Foster, is missing an arm and an eye. This came about through her friendship with the mining boss Aramis Stilton, who went mad after witnessing Delilah's return from the Void in 1849. When Stilton misses a planned visit, she attempts to enter his house to find him and is met with Grand Guard swords. If Stilton is prevented from attending the ritual, he remains sane, and Billie stays intact. No one except the player character knows that history has been changed, though Billie suffers from dreams recalling the original timeline. She also managed to become friends with Anton Sokolov around 1847, and he eventually came to live aboard her ship, so it seems her skills as an assassin transferred well to infiltrating with the powerful and notable. Her main business was running contraband, though from her ship's account book, she tended to spend more money than she took in most of the time. When the Crown Killer murders began, Sokolov concluded that Duke Luca was involved, and had planned to go to Dunwall just as he was captured, prompting Billie to go alone. During Dishonored 2, the Whale serves as the hub location, and Billie provides vital mission information throughout, as well as transportation to the various areas. The player recovers Sokolov, takes down the Duke's inner circle, and retrieves Delilah's spirit in order to confront her in the final mission. In Low Chaos, Billie will reveal her true name as well as her role in Jessamine's killing. If left alive, she'll go in search of Daud in the ending cutscene, leaving the name Megan Foster behind. In Death of the Outsider, several months have passed, and while Empress Emily is busy piecing her fractured empire back together, Billie has been searching for her old mentor. The novel The Return of Daud details his quest to track down the twin-bladed knife, including several time-bending encounters with Billie from the near future, which he must not reveal. He's eventually captured by the Eyeless gang and forced to fight for gamblers at the Albarca Baths. It's here that Billie finds and frees him, learning of his plan to kill the Outsider, which Daud considers as the source of all the blood and chaos he's caused. Billie reluctantly agrees to help him, and undertakes to steal the twin-bladed knife from the leading Eyeless members who possess it. Billie easily falls back into the old habits of assassination, thievery, bribery, and pickpocketing. To aid in this, the Outsider visits her and offers not his mark, but replaces her arm and eye with void artifacts that confer powers not mediated by him. Her new abilities include Displace, which allows a more measured way to teleport, and even the ability to explode targets from the inside out. Semblance lets her assume the identity of someone else for a time, while Foresight lets her scout out an area ahead of time. These powers don't require a mana potion to recharge, recovering automatically as they draw energy directly from the void. As it will turn out, this is not an arbitrary decision. Throughout the game, Billie encounters hollows, where conflicting timelines and realities overlap, and through which the Outsider speaks to Billie in cryptic phrases. Meanwhile, Daud has been so weakened by his experiences that he dies alone on the ship, sipping Billie's last good whiskey.
That's not so bad.
After burning the whale down as Daud's funeral pyre, Billie takes the knife and finds her way into the void, where she will confront the cult of the Outsider and the Envisioned, then come face to face with the Outsider himself. At this point, Billie must make a choice: to kill the Outsider outright, or convince Daud's restless spirit to give him his name back and turn him human again. There is no chaos system in Death of the Outsider, so this choice is left completely up to the player. By this point, we've learned of the events of Billie's life, and we must decide whether she's able to overcome the rage and resentment from everything she's suffered. If Billie has really changed from the cold killer she was, he will live out his life as a human, and Daud's spirit will dissolve into nothingness, the best possible outcome in this universe. If she kills the Outsider, he turns human just long enough to die as one, and Daud wanders the void forever. Billie's bitter pronouncement that killers never change hits like a leaden weight as the game ends. During the game, we also learn more about the nature of the Void and its relationship to the Outsider and previous Void gods. We learn that whatever Billie chooses, the Void will lose its avatar, and the stability of the relationship between the Void and the physical world will begin to crumble, setting up the events of the novel The Veiled Terror. The plot of The Veiled Terror is complicated, to say the least, so here's an abbreviated summary. The Outsider is gone, one way or another. The wording is intentionally vague to accommodate either choice, but now the Void has begun tearing into the real world, creating vast rifts in reality and spreading nightmares among the population of the Isles. The Abbey has been disbanded and the Oracular Sisters hunted down. Billie has retained her powers since they were not granted by the Outsider's mark, though summoning them is increasingly difficult and painful. She travels to Alba in Morley, where a large rift has opened, and where a 3-day civil war between the king and queen has just concluded. There she learns that Void's stone is being harvested directly from the rift and used as a weapon. She's captured by Enya, the queen who seems to know a great deal about Billie. At the royal palace, Billie discovers a secret rift and a Void shadow creature moving through them. Following, she sees this creature moving through different points in history and attempting to change significant past events in order to prevent bearers of the mark from ever existing. A future version of Billie explains that the creature is in fact the Queen in a form similar to Emily's Shadow Walk power, and Billie has been following it throughout time and fixing events as they are disrupted. Returning to the palace, Billie is captured again by King Briam, who reveals that he is controlling the Queen's shadow form. Billie learns that the king intended to use the Void Rifts to make Morley the dominant power in the Empire, and the Queen had attempted to curtail him with her own forces, sparking the brief civil war. But the Void Shadow creature took on a life of its own, kidnapping and sacrificing both the king and the Queen's human bodies in order to become more powerful. Billie is set free by Martha Cottings, a watch officer whom she'll rescue from an explosion after traveling back to 1850 so that she can be at this place and time to help present-day Billie escape. She re-enters the Void and uses explosive Void Stone to destroy the shadow creature. Billie returns to Dunwall to receive thanks from Emily and the Academy of Natural Philosophy, which will work to close the remaining Void Rifts. She then recovers the twin-bladed knife to continue traveling through time to make sure events play out as they should. If you found that summary convoluted, well, you're not the only one. Billie is best described as straightforward and blunt, utterly focused on whatever task is at hand. This has not always won her many friends, except for the few who appreciate her directness. As a younger person, she revels in revenge and is strongly influenced by Daud's examples. In low chaos, she'll knock out guards, while in high chaos, a knife to the throat works just as well. But seeing Daud's doubt after killing Jessamine leads her to lose confidence in him and drives her to conspire with Delilah. She has expressed curiosity about the Outsider, openly wondering what he's like, though in later life she expressly denies any interest in bearing his mark. Much like Corvo and Daud, Billie has been shaped by the traumas of her childhood. As a serial victim of extreme violence, she feels completely justified in inflicting it upon others, killing for coin even when she acknowledges they may not have deserved it. The central assertion of the world of Dishonored is that everyone else is evil to some degree, so there's no reason not to be as well. And this represents the main obstacle to overcome for pretty much every character in choosing what chaos path to follow. In Death of the Outsider, there is no chaos system, and this was almost certainly due to expedite the release of the game, which is a DLC in every way that matters, but does not require the base game to run. This was clearly an attempt to recoup as much money as possible after the botched release of Dishonored 2, which ran poorly for most players and not at all for some. The consequence of this is that Billie's actions have little impact on the broader world until the very end. In The Knife of Dunwall, Billie is voiced by Christy Wu from, among other things, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and thereafter by Rosario Dawson. They have very different voices, and there's no canon explanation for the change. Except, well... The final scene of Death of the Outsider brings up an intriguing possibility. All the events of the games flow from one to the next, all culminating with Billie standing before the body of the outsider immobilized in stone. We know that he can see all possible futures, but not necessarily which will come to pass. Is it possible that he's been manipulating events all this time, granting Viramore, Daud, Delilah, Corvo, and Emily his mark, setting them on certain paths, not knowing how far they'd take it, all to put Billie in this place at this time? Was this his plan all along? Not just for amusement, but for the merest chance that he could be set free from his 4,000-year-long imprisonment. He must have known his death was at least as possible as his release, but perhaps either fate was preferable to his continued existence. Of course, this would be a massive retcon from the first game, taking him from inscrutable trickster god to whiny emo kid, so it might have to remain an academic question. But it is compelling given Billie's apparent destiny to rise from the muck to one day hold the fate of the world in her hands. Billie Lurk represents one of the most relatably human characters in the Dishonored franchise. She's neither a pampered royal nor a powerful witch, and her ultimate struggle is how far to take the need for revenge, both her own need and that of the man she looks up to most. Whether she can let go of her hate long enough to forgive herself is the core of her story, and at the time of this video, her ultimate fate remains unknown.